have an awesome chat. We have Douglas Hanna, managing partner of Silverleaf Venture Partners. This sounds like a lot of partners. I may have done that incorrectly. We have Douglas Hanna. He's an awesome investor, awesome partner in this space. You want to sit here and listen to him lead a conversation with one of the best private companies out there at C3 Industries, their CEO, Ankur Rungta. Welcome them to the stage. Thank you, Doug.
For those of you who have never attended a Benzinga conference, really like to just give a shout out to the team, Jason, Elliot, Patrick. Excellent job. We've heard nothing but the most positive things here. The show has been remarkable. Those of you that are watching it on streaming, it's unfortunate you couldn't be here. We would not want to have missed this conference. So I'm here today. We're going to talk about brands, brand recognition, and I'm going to butcher this. Ankur Rungta. Okay, great. Ankur, you have a very, very impressive background. Corporate lawyer, worked for an investment bank in New York City. You're the CEO of C3 Industries and the co-founder. You guys have done a lot. You're in 4 states. You're building your own brands. Tell me a little bit about C3 before we get started.
Thanks, Douglas. Appreciate you doing this today. Thanks to Benzinga for inviting us to talk. Yeah, like you said, we're a mid-sized multi-state operator. We're a private company based in Michigan. We're active today in Michigan, Massachusetts, Missouri, and Oregon. We're vertical in all 4 of those markets. So we do cultivation, processing, and retail. About 450 employees today, and looking to enter some new markets this year, which I think we'll talk about later.
Wonderful. So you guys are vertically operated. You're building your own brands. Obviously, when you're building your own brands, it's really about consistency. And I'll never forget, I had a Israeli lawyer tell me a long time ago, never break the law while you're breaking the law. And this is federally legal. How do you keep your brands consistent in multiple states?
I think for us, we've really kind of pursued a model where we produce our own products in the various markets that we're in. I think that's really important for our strategy and our overall thesis. And so by keeping the supply chain in our own control, by making all of our own products, it allows us to kind of maintain that consistency. And so we haven't historically done licensing deals, both as a licensee or as a licensor. We've really focused on expanding our platform into new markets and then bringing our brands into those new markets through our own production. And that's, I think, what we'll continue to do over time as we look to enter new markets. And so I think it's different than some of the companies out there that are working with third-party producers, and they may have more concerns around consistency and sort of maintaining their brand quality.
So one of the things we were talking about backstage is the different categories and the different form factors. Tell me, where does C3 prefer to play in the form factor space, and as well as, are you on the value side? Are you on the high end side? What are you guys focusing on?
Yeah, I think up to this point, we've really been focused on kind of full spectrum products. So flower, pre-rolls, concentrates, vape cartridges. The idea for us was always to try to produce the highest quality flower and the highest quality biomass, and then create derivative products from that. And so today, what we mainly produce is in those categories. Like I said, the full spectrum categories. We've really tried to build facilities that are designed to produce the highest quality flower and biomass, and that's been kind of our guiding principle as we design those facilities. So we haven't necessarily gone for scale. We've kept the facilities at a size that we think allows us to maintain quality. As I mentioned, all of our kind of concentrates, vape cartridges, they're all derived from our internal biomass. So we're not running any third-party biomass. And so really trying to create a very high quality input and sort of a closed ecosystem where we can produce this great flower, these great derivative products. And ultimately, we think that in those categories, in order to build brand, you'll have to kind of do that consistently over a long period of time.
Wonderful. Now, you guys are in 4 markets, I believe, Michigan, Oregon, Massachusetts, Missouri. Some of those are recreational states, but I think Missouri is not a recreational state. Is there challenges building a brand in a non-recreational state that still has medicinal laws where you may not be able to market the same way in other states?
Absolutely. I mean, I think the interesting thing about our portfolio, our business, is we're in very different markets. And so if you look back historically, we started in Oregon and Michigan. Those are recreational markets. They're also open from a licensing standpoint, so they're extremely competitive. So that's kind of where we cut our teeth. We learned how to hone our craft, kind of create the products that we think would be successful in those really, really competitive marketplaces. And then now we've kind of expanded into Massachusetts and Missouri that have, some different features. Missouri's limited license in medical, as you mentioned. Massachusetts is rec, but has the most strict kind of restrictions on promotion and marketing. And so both of those markets, I think, present challenges in terms of how you get your product out there, how you get the messaging out there. But really, I think fundamentally, we do think that our core strategy of trying to produce the highest quality flower and the highest quality derivative products we think that works in any market. We've been able to create successful kind of cash flow positive businesses, even in markets like Oregon, where we've got largely a wholesale business only. And so, we have a thesis that we can go in and compete in any marketplace with this strategy. And I think we've started to prove that out a little bit.
So one of the things that Silverleaf always looks for before we make investments is we're really looking for a team. We find that if you have a great product and an average team, it never really seems to go anywhere. Tell us a little bit about the team, and have you added anybody new to the team to expand?
No, I mean, I think the business is all about the people and the team. I think that's what we've found over time. You can have, all the best facilities, you can have all the capital in the world, the licenses, but if you don't have the team to execute it, it's not going to work out in our view. So we've built a really strong team. I think we've been pretty deliberate about how we've grown it. So we've tried to stay lean. We've really focused on being cash flow positive and EBITDA positive, which we have been for a couple of years. But we're also trying to build the right specialized people and teams and resources internally that we need to really be successful. And so one, I would point out, just given that this is a capital markets and finance focused conference, we did just bring in a new CFO. His name is Vilesh Shah. Really excited about that hire. He's actually somebody that my brother Vishal and I worked in investment banking with years ago in New York. He went on to work at Apollo, which is one of the leading private equity firms in the world, where he's been a partner for the last few years. And so, bringing on a person of that caliber onto our team is really very exciting for us. And I think as we look forward and we think about how we want to grow our business further, we're definitely starting to get more focused on M&A and sort of acquisitions. We've really historically done everything organically for the most part. But as we more seriously look at M&A, we wanted the right person to lead those efforts, the right person with the right capital markets relationships and background. And I think Vilesh is just an absolute rock star. So really excited about what he brings for our, to our team and hopefully allows us to kind of supercharge some of the things that we're trying to do. Besides that, I think on the brand side of things, we've spent a lot of energy, time, money on building out our marketing function, which has historically, again, been pretty lean. So over the last year, we've really built out a strong team in that area. We're trying to step up what we do from a marketing standpoint, trying to put more resources into, things like packaging, things like our out-of-home and digital efforts. And so we hope to keep ramping that up. And again, it's a big part of the equation, I think, to build brand over time.
Nice. So tell me real briefly, you're building brands and then you have your own product that you're selling out, maybe wholesale, flower. What percentage of that business is targeted towards the brands versus, say, the products that maybe you're, just selling in the wholesale market or in the retail market?
Yeah, so 100% of our product that we produce is branded. So it's all produced under our Cloud Cover brand currently, and so we don't do any white labeling. We don't do any private labeling. In the product that we make, there's a mix of some of that being sold in the wholesale market and then some being sold through our own retail stores. We do have 22 retail locations between the 4 states, of which 14 are currently open. So thank you. It's been a lot of work. We were at 1 2 years ago, so it's through COVID we opened all those. So it was an interesting run. But no, so we sell it depends on the market. In Michigan, we're more vertical because we have more retail. So it's probably half there between product we sell into the wholesale market versus product that we sell through our retail channels. And other, in Massachusetts, we've got only 1 retail store currently, so most of our product is going to the wholesale market. So again, the the wholesale market supply demand dynamics are so different from state to state. And, in our view, a lot of that is really based on the regulatory framework. And so, if you've got an unlimited license market, that has certain dynamics. Within limited license markets, you still see different dynamics. In some markets, you have a lot of production and very little retail. In other markets, it may be the opposite. And so we try to adapt our strategy based on kind of the wholesale market dynamics in whatever state we're in. But we're trying to be set up to be successful, whether it's all wholesale or whether it's more vertical. Either way, we think we can compete.
Now, we've talked a little bit about your brands. It's my understanding you've actually won some awards for some of your brands and some of your products in some of your markets. Tell us a little bit about those awards and what you're doing to maybe launch other products to compete in other categories.
Yeah. It's as an MSO, we probably care a lot more about kind of these awards and our product quality and sort of getting the consumer buy-in from the real cannabis enthusiasts. That's a big part of what we're trying to do. And as I mentioned, we're in markets like Michigan and Oregon that are really competitive. Lots of people are very good at what they do. Lots of product innovation. I mean, in my mind, those are kind of the cutting edge of the marketplace from a product standpoint. And so we have won some awards. In Michigan, the big competition is the High Times Cannabis Cup. So last year we won first place in concentrates, and we won second place in hybrid flower, second place in indica flower, and second place in AU pre-rolls. And so in 4 of the 6 categories, we were in first or second place, which again, from our standpoint, it's a very competitive market. There's a lot of people that are producing great products. And so to be able to go and kind of perform that way was a big deal. We've also won similar awards in Oregon, which is also a market like that. So yeah, it's part of our story. I think we're all in cannabis. There's a lot of talk about premium flower, premium products. And so it's hard to figure out, it's hard to get third-party validation sometimes for that. And, we're not at a point in the industry where there's a wine spectator or somebody that's grading our products that we all look to as like a trusted source for sort of that recognition. And so I think we look to competitions like that to sort of try to establish that. And a lot of people have different views on those. Some people think that they're bought and, the awards are all paid for or whatever. But no, I think it's meaningful in these competitive markets, and it's part of our story. How do we establish that we actually are the best? And so we hope to keep doing that. And then to your other question, we are thinking a lot about our business and about our product mix and, what I see in the marketplace. And I'm very passionate about flower personally. I use the product. It's why I got in this business. But, the data seems pretty clear at this point, some of the trends that are happening in the industry. I think we will see the edibles and beverage category grow substantially in terms of, percentage of market. And so, we're thinking a lot about how do we want to be in these other categories that we haven't historically been in. And so one thing that we're working on that we're really excited about, we're not ready to announce the details of it, but we are on the verge of licensing a gourmet food brand that's not in the cannabis space to create a line of edibles with. I think in my view, we're great at certain things as a company. I think we're great operators in terms of the production side of the business. We produce great, cannabis, great inputs. We've got distribution and retail. But as I think about how do I want to attack the edibles category, I'm not an expert in product formulation. I'm not an expert in every food form factor. And so to me, finding the right partners in categories like edibles and beverages, I think could be really powerful. I have yet to see a serious partnership with a non-cannabis food brand in the space. I think there's probably a number that are in the works and, on the verge of being announced like ours. But, we want to build a real partnership with this company that we're bringing into the space and hopefully build a national edible strategy with them. And I think we'll try to do something similar in beverage. We've seen more of those partnerships in the beverage category with non-cannabis companies partnering with cannabis companies. So I think we'll look to maybe do something similar to that. Again, it's an area that, we're not experts in beverage production and beverage formulation. And so we want to try to, be smart about what we're good at. And then where we have sort of a strategy, but not necessarily the skill set, find the right partner to work with.
Good. So of all these form factors, these brands that you're building, let's talk about just for a second, what do you think is really, really important in building your brands? Is it the packaging? Is it the consistency? Is it the customer experience? And I know it's all of those, but just talk to us for a few minutes about how you think of that and what's going to make somebody go into either one of your dispensaries or another dispensary, purchase that product, and then want to come back. I mean, we've heard multiple times, it's very easy to sell a product once. It's very difficult to sell the same product to a person multiple times.
Sure. I think it starts with product quality, but I don't think that is enough, and that's something that we've learned over time. You can have the highest quality, and I'm talking more in our categories, so flower, concentrates, the full spectrum categories. I think it starts, there's a very discerning consumer base in those categories, and many of them are longtime cannabis users, from before the licensed market. And so I think if you want to put yourself out as a high-end flower and concentrate producer, you have to provide those longtime consumers with something that they're going to be excited about. And so product quality is important. I think what we're seeing more and more is you have to have your genetics offering kind of really current, really relevant. You need to understand, where the trends are going in the marketplace and make sure you're offering products that meet that. And then I think, the sort of the hype and the excitement, making it more than just a high quality product and something that the market really cares about. I think that's what everybody's trying to figure out, honestly, is how do you do that? And I think there are short-term strategies and there are long-term strategies. And so I think a lot of what we're seeing in the space right now are more short-term strategies. And so it may be the right influencer partnership. It might be, a lot of out of home or digital spend, sort of your kind of quick exposure, quick awareness, maybe quick bump in sales. But I think that longer term, it's like building a brand in any industry. You have to check all the boxes, and you have to sort of, create a story and then stand by your principles and sort of deliver, whatever the value you're delivering to the consumer, keep delivering it over time, to your point. And so hopefully, from our standpoint, if we keep doing fundamentally what we set out to do, which is to, produce great products, if we make the right choices along the way where we don't sacrifice, the quality for scale or for other things, then I think we'll build brand long term.
I want to change the subject just for a second. We all know about the obnoxious black market in, say, California. You're in some other markets that we've identified: Oregon, Michigan, Missouri, Massachusetts. Are you finding that there's a black market to deal with in some of those other markets, like every other brand has had to deal with in, say, California?
I probably have a very different view on this than most people. I don't have a problem with the black market, actually. I think that I think for licensed cannabis companies, you have to compete. You have to compete in the marketplace. And so if the consumer says there's a better option for me outside of the dispensary, then I don't think it's our job to complain about it. It's our job to figure out how to compete with that, right? And so it's very interesting. In Michigan has a very robust black market. It also has a very robust caregiver market. And what we're seeing now is that as the supply has come online in Michigan and as the consumer prices have come down, we are becoming more competitive with the black market. And so the consumers will ultimately decide where the value is, and they'll find it. And so, I don't, I'd like regulators, when they create a licensed market, to protect it, meaning there should be some level of enforcement. There should be some level of trying to, create a clean marketplace for the licensed companies to operate in. But broadly, I think it's our job as licensed companies to be more appealing than the black market. And I think over time that will happen. So.
I liked your answer. I think, though, it's frustrating for operators like yourself who are abiding by the laws, and then there's flower coming in from Oklahoma or other areas that's packaged up nicely. Sometimes I've even seen it could possibly be in your packaging, and then it's being sold in the black market. How are you guys?
I don't think there's anything more flattering than when your legit package, your licensed market packaging ends up in the black market. I think there's something positive about that. I don't know, but that means you're doing something right, I think. But
I would agree, but you're not getting the revenues, you're not getting the margins. But
listen, it's a tough situation in some cases, but I think, when you come into cannabis, the environment you're entering, that there's a robust black market, who you're competing with, and it's not always just other licensed companies. So I view it as, people, have an issue with it. They maybe shouldn't enter the space.
I want to talk just for a second about one of the markets that you're in that Silverleaf is very, very bullish on. You're in the Missouri market. Missouri is supposed to flip recreational in November. It's on the ballot to be voted on.
It's not on the ballot yet. There's still some work to do. Yeah. They're still collecting signatures.
I was told that they're moving towards putting it on the ballot. It may not be on yet, but tell us a little bit about the Missouri market. That's an interesting market. Over 6 million people. They're trending towards recreational, limited license state. Are you bullish on Missouri, or are you just there because you see a little bit of opportunity?
No, I'm very bullish on Missouri. You know, we have a full kind of portfolio there. We have 5 retail, we have processing, we have cultivation. I do think rec is going to happen. It does seem like signatures are getting to where they need to get to, and it's polling really well. So we expect that market to go rec at the end of the year. We do think it's really exciting. I don't think it's, you know, there's limited license states, you know, that are very limited, and then there's some that are sort of more in the middle. So in Missouri, there's 200 retail licenses, there's 60 cultivation licenses. So it's not as if it's not competitive. I think it is actually quite competitive, but it's gonna be a robust rec market. There's a lot of population, like you said, and we're excited really because I think we feel like what we do and kind of some of what we do on the product side and on the retail side. I know we talked a lot about products, but both parts of our business we think are really well situated for that market. We've already got a fully operating portfolio there. It's been doing, you know, we've been kind of performing above what you'd consider, you know, average revenue per door or average wholesale pricing. So we're already seeing, you know, kind of really strong performance in the medical version of that market. And so we hope to continue that into rec. And it's absolutely one of our, you know, our core markets. Really our go forward strategy is any market that we enter, we want to be vertical and we want to have a really meaningful presence. So we don't want to just have a shallow presence in any market. And so Missouri is a place that we feel like we can build a leading portfolio. And part of our hope is to keep expanding over time. There is some talk that the retail cap will be lifted. And so if that happens, then we would look to acquire more retail and try to expand our presence there.
We're almost out of time here, or we are out of time, but I got one more question for you. You're in 4 markets. Where do you see yourself expanding next?
I think so as I mentioned earlier, we've done everything organically historically, meaning we've not built this portfolio through M&A. And so we're going to continue doing that. We intend to apply for licenses in New York. That's where the founders of the company are originally from, the Buffalo area. So we really want to be in the New York market. We are applying in Connecticut as well in that process. So we've got a couple new organic markets that we hope to enter. And then we are looking at some M&A, as I mentioned. So I think our top targets from an M&A standpoint are Ohio and Illinois. We're really trying to build a strong Midwest and Northeast presence. That's kind of our regional play that we're trying to make. And so I think the hope is by the end of the year, we're in other 2 or 3 states, you know, in development in other 2 or 3 states, but with licenses.
Wonderful. I think we're out of time. Please give it up for Ankur.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Douglas. Appreciate it.
Nice job.
Fantastic. And Doug, too. Keep it going for Doug and Ankur. Appreciate you guys so much for coming. Thanks so much, gentlemen.